showing up, giving her the option.
I fixed it.
What was it? Were you signed into another meeting?
I was.
Yes, ma'am. She was. I signed her off.
I want to make sure I share with you that these are the Carnegie Hall student performers from the Cathedral Arts Project. Can I have one more just incredible round of applause for these incredibly talented children? Thank you to all of them for being with us this evening. The school board of the Duval County School District is now convened in its regular monthly meeting. To everyone present and to our television viewers, I wish to extend a warm welcome to this meeting of the Duval County School Board. The vision statement of the Duval County School Board states, "Every student is inspired and prepared for success in college or career and life." The mission statement of the Duval County School Board is to provide educational excellence in every school, in every classroom, for every student, every day. The Duval County School Board is here tonight to listen to reports from district staff and to set policy for the district that will improve student achievement. We will also address budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and other business items that require a vote of the board. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of our superintendent. It is not the role of the board to make managerial or operational decisions. The board has policies and procedures in place to assist our superintendent in resolving management and operational issues. If items appear to move quickly, it is because the board meets in an agenda committee meeting prior to the board meeting for an in-depth review of all agenda items. The agenda committee meeting for the March 7th, 2023 school board meeting will be held on February 21st, 2023 at 9 a.m. and the public, as always, is invited to attend. As a show of courtesy and respect to each other, we ask that you place your cell phone in silent mode at this time, and we also ask that all mobile phones, that no flash photography be used during the meeting. For those wishing to address the board during our public comments portion of the board meeting, please note that we will accept speaker cards until 6:20 p.m. According to the CDC's website, Duval County's COVID-19 community level is currently designated as low. The CDC currently recommends indoor mask wearing for people with symptoms, a positive test, or exposure to someone with COVID-19. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the operation of the Duval County School District. Board members and guests, I invite you to stand for a moment of silence and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we move to tonight's school presentation, as we always feature one school each month, before we do, can we just, for those, there were a few people moving in as we were getting started. I want to thank once again the Cathedral Arts Project team that was here tonight. We had staff members and directors from their program. I see them in the back. Thank you for being here. And again, can we give those students and their parents for helping them get to this moment a huge round of applause one last time. I will tell you, my parents made me take piano lessons when I was a child. They didn't last long for some deliberate reasons. Maybe I couldn't read music. That was like a whole foreign language on the music sheets that they had in front of me. I don't know how they do it. That's amazing. At this time, we're going to call, actually from my district, District 1, our feature school this evening is Grasp Academy. If you can come on up, Principal Powell, our fabulous leader, and I think you've got a few people with you as well.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dr. Green, members of the board. Before you get to see a video that our students and staff made, I would like to just recognize a few of my parents that came out this evening. If you know Grasp, we travel in a little pack, and I am very thankful for them. We have our parent champion, Mr. St. Amand. We have our PTA president, Ms. Jones, and as well as our SAC president, Mr. Jones. And they're here just to thank you. Thank you for your dedication to Grasp, for taking on the challenge of addressing the needs of 1 in 5 students with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. And so they just wanted to make sure they were here to say thank you as you get to watch our presentation.
Well, Grasp Academy is a public school, actually the only public school in all of Florida that specializes working with students who have been diagnosed or who have characteristics of dyslexia, which is a reading disability, dyscalculia, which is math, and dysgraphia, which is writing.
Dyslexia is something that makes your mind work differently.
Dyslexia is a neurological-based disability that affects 1 in 5 students. So if you're sitting in a classroom of 20, you have about 4 students that probably has some sort of characteristic of dyslexia. So at GRASP, we take a Orton-Gillingham methodology approach to teaching our students. Students come to our school recognizing that they are different, but not that there's anything wrong. They learn differently, and at GRASP, we embrace that.
In my classroom, you'll see a lot of multi-sensory centers. We're blending with letters, magnet letters. You're drawing in sand. We're using paint to get that letter sound recognition. We're also starting to blend words. It's amazing when a child comes in, they don't have any letter sound recognition, and in a few months to see their face light up and they're reading. It's the best feeling in the world.
I love that the teachers here really show their compassion for their students. They really delve into working with the students and getting the students to excel. The students' families, just everything about it. GRASP is it's like a family. It's like a family knit school where everyone works together.
Small group is where we get our bang for our buck, and that's where most of the instruction takes place in my class. So with OG, students are often grouped according to the skills that they're struggling with. So if we're doing initial sounds, final sounds, if we're doing syllable patterns, depending on wherever they're weak, they're grouped according to that.
Teachers are pretty great. Have a lot of them, known a lot of them since I was in 2nd grade. Have a lot of different activities, a lot of hands-on activities, a lot of different fun things and ways you can learn without just sitting and reading a book.
If you really want to go places, come to Grasp Academy.
So I will say I did invite Principal Powell, and I'm excited to see we've got Mr. St. Amand and our assistant principal and other school leaders with us this evening. GRASP is a special and unique place. It's a hidden gem in Duval County Public Schools. I feel just fortunate to have it in my district. Having been a teacher and a principal, I worked with children who had dyslexia and dysgraphia in my classroom. And at that time, we didn't have a special program. We didn't have a unique place for these children to learn and to feel like it's to be exposed to a curriculum that really meets them where they are and where they need to be. And I will tell you, if you ever go in the school, it is just this happy, thriving, bright space for children and for parents. The school open house actually recently this month, we had a school open house on a Saturday, and I went to 17 of 18 of my schools in a 4-hour period, but when I pulled into their parking lot, I couldn't find a parking space because there were so many parents and children who want to attend the school. And so to Principal Powell, I just say thank you for being the right leader at the right place to do the right work with the right children. We are just blessed to have you with us, and thank you for all you do for the children in our school district, and especially in Arlington. So thank you. All right. Thank you. Yeah, can I have a big round of applause for her? At this time, I also, on the note of really just lifting good work in the district, I have the privilege tonight of sharing our first recognition in the form of a proclamation by the Duval County School Board to honor school counselors. As a former school principal and district leader, I know firsthand the incredible work and dedication that our school counselors bring and the tremendous support they provide to students and families. So I'm going to take a moment to read the proclamation and then invite any of our board members who'd like to say something to do so. Proclamation by the School Board of Duval County, Florida. Whereas school counselors are employed in Duval County Public Schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping elementary students discover self, understand the importance of kindness, and explore their curiosity about the world and their careers, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping secondary students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the education, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with our teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, and whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of our society, and whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Now, therefore, we, the School Board of Duval County, Florida, do hereby proclaim February 6th through the 10th of 2023 as National School Counseling Week within and throughout Duval County Public Schools, and we take the time to honor all those serving in this profession so vital to our students, our schools, and our community. And with that, I know I'd like to share some thoughts in regards to it, but I'm going to open it up at this time. Are there any other board members who would like to speak? Board Member Jones?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Counselors have played such an important role in the lives of so many children, and I have to reflect on two individuals. One, Thelma Geiger, who was a counselor when I was in high school, that advised me that the University of Florida would be a good fit for me, and I ended up going there. And then we lost last year a very wonderful counselor in Deborah Norman, who for decades worked at William M. Raines High School to guide and direct so many students to successful careers in and out of Jacksonville. So I just want to raise those two individuals up who really made a wonderful difference in this community.
Any others? Board Member Willie?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the sentiments about just the power of people, especially our counselors. I think oftentimes you see that sort of listing as other duties as assigned, and oftentimes counselors get so many different, they wear so many hats, and I equate it to that drawer in your kitchen that has everything in it. But there's always a treasure in there, and I think our counselors are that. I've seen it as a board member, but also as a parent. I see what the counselors do at the schools that my kids go to, and I just want to thank all of our counselors today and every other day for the work they do.
Board Member Joyce?
Yeah, thank you. Coming out of the school system as a teacher and working in many, many different schools around the district, I have seen the hard work and dedication of our school counselors. And while that work looks different, whether you're at the elementary level, the middle school level, or the high school level, it is still an incredible work that they do. And so I am just honored to have so many counselors in this district as my friend, and I'm just encourage you to keep doing the good work that you're doing.
Vice Chair Pearson? Did you want to?
I was reflecting too, like Board Member Willie, on as I've looked at the work that my students, counselors have done and the ways that they've served our family over the years, it does seem like a really big bag of duties that they're called on, and how they do that with compassion and excellence and knowledge time and time again for different families and different students within the schools. And like Board Member Jones, I do have a counselor that I'd like to give a shout out to, which is Pat Schneider, who is the guidance counselor at Wolfson High School, one of, I think, three, but my guidance counselor at Wolfson High School. I was in high school the first person in my family to go to college. or to think about going to college, but I had to have scholarships to go, or I wasn't going to go out of Jacksonville, which is I wanted out of Jacksonville. And so she handed me a printout of scholarships and said, circle all the ones that you qualify for and start writing essays. And so I went through and I circled and I started writing essays and earned enough to be able to go to Florida State. And thoroughly enjoyed my 4 years there. And it really started with that guidance counselor who gave me the tools that I needed to get where I wanted to be. And so I am grateful for the work that counselors do who see potential in students and give them the tools they need to get where they want to go and where they should be. So thank you.
Board Member Carney, I saw you eyeing me. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. So as a parent, I would like to recognize Brooke Forte at Neptune Beach Elementary and Rhonda Davis at Fletcher Middle for taking really good care of my two girls. Brooke was always somebody that we could reach out to. It was a safe place to go to her office and sit and talk. I know my littles, when they were little, they're not so little anymore, always felt like it was somewhere they could go and talk about anything. And so I truly appreciate the work that she does. She's always there to have a helping hand with what anybody needs at that school, and I appreciate her so much. So I wanted to recognize her. And Rhonda Davis over at Fletcher Middle, the same thing with my eldest daughter, having a 504 plan and scheduling meetings and always being available when we had questions about learning. She's just been such an amazing asset to us as a family, and I just want to make sure that we recognized her as well. So counselors are such a great gift to our schools, and I appreciate every single one of the jobs that they do. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I will say, I'm going to echo a little bit of Board Member Joyce. Having been a teacher and a principal and district leader, I've worked alongside of some amazing counselors and feel blessed that I got to do the work with them, because it's a specialty area that people don't realize just how important they are in that critical moment with a child, with a family. But I will also say, I want to make sure that as you look at all of our counselors and the good work that they do, Wendy Dunlap, who leads that work and has led that work for a number of years now. Just her tone, her tenor, her demeanor, her knowledge, her passion, it's just exemplary, and she's a hidden gem within the school counseling division because she never calls attention to herself, but yet you hear all these good things, and part of it is because of the leadership that she gives. So thank you. I know she's here this evening. I'm nodding over to her. Thank you for your leadership with all of these people in our district. That being said, I'm going to call Ms. Gutierrez up because I hear we're going to recognize some school counselors now.
In honor of National School Counseling Week, we begin by celebrating an extraordinary counselor and assistant principal. National School Counseling Week is sponsored by the American School Counselor Association and is celebrated this week, February 6th through the 10th. Tonight's honorees are leading the work to prepare students to be successful throughout their educational journey. For their dedication to student success, both will be receiving a Superintendent's Coin of Excellence. We begin with Miss Fawn Sweeney, a school counselor at Beauclair Elementary School. Sweeney is the winner of the Lucille C. Kreisel Award. Lucille Kreisel was a pioneer in the school counseling profession, establishing the first elementary, middle, and high school guidance programs in Duval County Public Schools. Miss Sweeney, a 7-year veteran at the school, is celebrated for developing a special behavior support program. It teaches students with unique abilities ways to interact positively with peers and build their self-confidence. She created video lessons that teachers can show students at any time to reinforce Beauclair's guidelines for success. And in collaboration with teachers at her school, she created a parent newsletter called Insider Toolbox, which serves as a resource to stay connected to the school. To sum it all up, one teacher says this: Ms. Sweeney has nothing but the best interest at heart for our students and teachers. And joining Ms. Sweeney this evening is Executive Director of High School Acceleration Programs and Student Support Services, Wendy Dunlap. Congratulations, Fawn Sweeney. Continuing in our recognition of National School Counseling Week, we now highlight an administrator who has proven to be an advocate for school counselors. Ms. Elena Raquelme, an assistant principal also from Beauclair, is the recipient of the First Coast Counselor Association's Laurel Caden Anderson Administrator Award. Ms. Raquelme was nominated because of her commitment to having a comprehensive school counseling program. She works collaboratively with the school's 2 counselors, includes them in biweekly leadership meetings, and supports their school counseling advisory council. She attends monthly meetings so that she is aware of the activities, goals, and data being shared with staff from feeder schools. She's also involved with community partners and parents who have a vested interest in supporting the counseling program. Her counselors are most proud of her commitment to developing college and career-minded elementary students. Her supervisors are very pleased with her support of Jack's Goes to College Week, as well as her recent facilitation of Literacy Week activities. And with Raquelme this evening is also Ms. Dunlap, and please help us congratulate her for being named Laurel Caden Anderson School Counselor Administrative Advocate of the Year. You heard them perform at the beginning of this meeting, and now for our final recognition, we wish to celebrate their success. For the 2nd year in a row, Cathedral Arts Project students have been invited to perform at Carnegie Hall. These 3 Team Duval students are participating in the Crescendo International Music Competition, which is for students in the United States, Canada, Europe, and Asia. This youth competition started in 2007 and auditioned music students aged 4 to 24. As prize winners in the competition, students will perform at Carnegie Hall in New York City on Saturday, February 18th. In honor of this achievement, each student will be receiving a Superintendent's Coin of Excellence this evening. Allow us to introduce each one. First, from Douglas Anderson School of the Arts is senior Deja Roberts, a violinist. Roberts started playing the violin while in elementary school, and she joined the Cathedral Arts Project in the 4th grade. In addition, she is a graduate of La Villa School of the Arts Orchestra program. Also from Douglas Anderson is our next honoree, Chloe Kolnek, a sophomore and a cellist. She started playing the cello in the Chetts Creek Elementary After-School String program and is also a graduate from La Villa School of the Arts Orchestra program. When she's not playing the cello, she is an avid volleyball player. Last but not least is 6th grader Marielle Silva, a pianist from River City Science Academy, Mandarin. She started playing the piano at the young age of 7, and this will be her first time playing in an orchestra program. She is also the recipient of the Outstanding Academic Excellence Award of the President's Education Awards program, both in 2021 and 2022. Here tonight are Cathedral Arts Project President and CEO, Reverend Kimberly Hyatt, Vice President of Advocacy and Community, Dr. Lucy Chen, Chief Administrative Officer with Kids Hope Alliance, Sarah Lynn Grass, River City Science Academy Mandarin Principal, Akgul, and co-founder of River City Science Academy, Mr. Sell. Congratulations to these 3 for their achievements. Mr. Sell.
Tighten up, Michael.
This concludes this evening's presentations.
Congratulations.
All right. Thank you again for all of y'all being with us this evening. I will say it took a village to raise those children, and it was done beautifully, no doubt. Quite a village that they have there. We're going to move into approval of the February 7th, 2023 agenda. That the Duval County School Board approve the February 7th, 2023 agenda as submitted on January 31st, 2023 with the following changes. Approval of minutes, January 31st, 2023, member-to-member meeting, Cindy Pearson, Charlotte Joyce, item added. Operations, facilities, project design, construction and maintenance, award of construction management at-risk agreement, renovations, classroom additions, and multi-system capital renewal project at Mandarin High School, number 260, RFQ number 14-23, TW, attachment added. Board member travel, March 15th through the 17th, 2023, Tallahassee, Florida, Florida School Board Association, 36th Annual Day in the Legislature. Vice Chair Pearson, item amended. March 17th through the 22nd, 2023, Washington, D.C., 2023 Annual Legislative Policy Conference, Coker and Hershey, item amended. I ask for a motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Pearson and a second by Board Member Jones. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. That item passes by a vote of 7-0. We're now going to move into the chairwoman's report. In keeping with what we have done the last couple of months, we're just going to kind of make sure that the public knows the different items. And I'm looking for a clicker if it's around anywhere. We're looking. Oh, we found the clicker. Okay. All's good. The clicker has been recovered. Okay. I want to just make sure we alert the public and let the public know of the work of the board over the last few months. This will focus on our board workshops from the last month. In particular, we did a deep dive in the mid-year testing data and the progress monitoring data. This right here are some screenshots of the ELA assessment data, in particular Waterford, that we do with our little ones, grades K through 2, Achieve, and district progress monitoring assessments, ELA, with our upper students. I will say, kind of excited about what we saw with the Waterford. You'll see that in the fall, 2% of them were at below significant, which is fundamentally not a great place to be. We want to move them at that point. At 51%, we had at above expected. But now in the winter, as we do that assessment, we have no students that tested at below significant, and we've moved to 85% at above expected. These are really amazing results that we're incredibly excited about. We're also excited about the next steps that that our academic services division are taking in ensuring student success. They include personalized enrichment. That basically means we're meeting students where they are. We are not trying to do a one-size-fits-all. Multi-language support, that's something when you look at our district, we have a number of second language students that are in each of our districts. Board Member Pearson happens to have a concentration of them in hers, but that multi-language support for children who are not native speakers. Differentiated content and supplemental tier 1 options. We're going to move into, there we go, our math assessment data. And you'll see we're kind of holding steady. It's a stable study in regards to that for the progress monitoring that we've shown there. And I will say there are about 20 pages worth of data that we went through. I just took a few shots out of it. Our next steps in supporting students in math success include varied learning opportunities, differentiated tutoring models. I'm real excited about that. Again, that's all about meeting children where they are and not a one-size-fits-all. I don't know about you, when I grew up, the teacher taught to the class. No matter where you were, you got the same lesson. We weren't met where we needed to be. And so in this case, again, meeting students where they are so that they can actually learn each of the standards and move along to where we need them to be for testing at the end of the year. Customized professional development is another thing that I will say Paula Renfro, who is our Chief Academic Officer, has done an amazing job with. When you look at our teachers, we have teachers who are in their first year, their fourth year, their 10th year, their 30th year, some that are new to teaching second grade math, some that have been teaching it for 15 years. Making sure that we're giving them customized professional development so we meet them where they are so that they can best benefit our students. We're also doing a lot with online parent support, more now than ever. I think with COVID, we learned a lot that we can do many things online and reach audiences we haven't reached before. So we're excited about that piece as well as achievement gap enrichment. Let's see. It is not wanting to agree with me tonight. There we go. Well, all right. One of the other items that we focused on, and I picked three main topics in this last month, was the legislative platform. And for that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Vice Chair Pearson because she is our legislative liaison, and quite honestly, she has worked so hard and done so much in regards to this. So we're going to turn it over to her to give an update.
I do want to start by thanking all of the board members. I know that individual members have made trips to Tallahassee, have made phone calls, have taken time to educate themselves on issues, and so I want to think it is really a board effort in this. And we want to invite our community to join us in this effort, and I've been meeting with a number of groups trying to recruit folks to help us. So just kind of three bills out of many to watch. HB1 is one that's getting a lot of attention in the news, and this would be an expansion of the Family Empowerment Scholarship and Florida Tax Credit Program. This has already passed through the Choice and Innovation Subcommittee. Next week, it will be heard in the Pre-K Appropriations Subcommittee. If you are a person who has time and interest in traveling to Tallahassee to speak, I would look at speaking to the financial aspects of the bill. The policy aspects will come up in a different meeting, but next week is when that meeting will happen in Tallahassee. The second Senate Bill 52. This is something that came up last year that we were kind of excited about and didn't go anywhere. So they're bringing it, thankfully bringing it again, which is relates to instruction for resources for parents understanding social media safety. And that's one that I think the social media landscape changes so quickly that parents can use all the help they can get on this. The third is HB 193, which is instructional hours for voluntary pre-kindergarten education. And this is actually an item on our Duval County School Board legislative platform. We're asking for pre-K to be funded the same as K-12. And we have two of our Duval delegation members, Representative Nixon and Senator Davis, who are sponsoring this bill. If this is something, just looking at our data on how well we're doing with pre-K in the county, if this is something you would like to lend your voice to, you could definitely reach out to them and thank them for their support, and then reach out to other Duval delegation members and ask them to jump on board with that. And then we also have a fourth upcoming bill that will be filed related to one of the items on our agenda, which is extending temporary teacher certification from 3 to 5 years. And that one will be filed, and we'll give you an update when that happens. If you are interested in knowing who your member of either the House or Senate is, so that you can reach out, you can go to myfloridahouse.gov. There's a place there where you can look up, put your address in, and it will tell you if you don't already know. And also you can go to myfloridahouse.gov to get information on bills. If you put in a bill name like HB1, put that in, and it will take you to a page that gives you the history. You can read the bill text. You can see which committees are coming up, and it'll link you to the hearings as well. So it's a really great resource if you want to follow what's going on in Tallahassee right now.
All right, thank you. You always hear Dr. Green talk about please join Team Duval. At this point, we're going to ask you to please join Team Advocacy with Vice Chair Pearson. Again, if you have any interest in being a part of this dialogue on any one of these items, we encourage you to reach out to us. You can email us, call the board office, so that Board Member Pearson can point you in the right direction for supporting our students. One of the other items we really focused on as a board and spent a good amount of time with was the population study that we do in collaboration with Cooperative Strategies. This is done under the direction of Assistant Superintendent Paul Soares. And what it does is it's an annual study. Originally, it was supposed to be done every 5 years. We've now moved to doing it every single year. And what it looks at where housing permits are being pulled. It looks at how many children are being born in our city, how many children are coming in of different ages, populations that are coming into the city, going out of the city, so that we can best project where we need programs for children. You'll see here, I pulled this, kind of thought it was interesting. You'll see that over the next 5 years, we anticipate between the ages of 0 and 18, 31,000 new children in our city, in Duval County. And so by looking at these trends, we're able to best and most efficiently use operational capital and referendum dollars. And so just an interesting item that we look at to be efficient with the dollars that we receive from our taxpayers. We did have some fun things we did this last month as well, our board and review. Many of us attended a principal and assistant principal of the year reception with Jacksonville Public Education Fund. They sponsored it. We're very appreciative of that. A number of board members, we were fortunate that the federal judiciary recently held a naturalization ceremony, and several of our board members were able to attend that as well. I know that Superintendent Green and I attended the Future of Education Forum with JPEF, which was a very forward thinking of where do we see education in Duval County in the years to come. A number of us also had the opportunity to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. At the breakfast, and we gathered together with other community leaders to celebrate that day. I know Vice Chair Pearson went to the City Year MLK Day of Service as well. I hear she painted a rocket. I don't know if it actually takes off or lifts or anything like that, but I hear it's awesome. We had National Signing Day as well. And then we also had, and I'm sorry it's not on this one version, the Florida Health and STEM Expo. I know that a number of us attended that as well. I want to make sure that we recognize River City Science Academy for hosting that item this year. They hosted it last year as well. I do want to make a special mention of Nadeem Ibri. She's actually a member of our IT staff, and she oversees the Springfield Minecraft Lab. She was actually there teaching children from throughout our community with our students from Springfield how to do Minecraft, how to code. They invited me to do that. I did not try that. I will also say there's a fun picture of board member Hershey and I with all the Star Wars characters. They happened to have them there, and it seemed like the right thing to do to take that picture. So we had a really fun day with health and STEM initiatives at that event. And again, thank you to River City Science for hosting that, and to all the staff that made that item come together. Finally, we have some upcoming dates and items of interest. You'll see we have a board workshop on the 14th. We also have a sales surtax oversight committee on the 15th. We have a board agenda review on the 21st. And then many board members are attending mid-year stakeholders reports, GSA club conversations as well throughout the month of February. And then we have some exciting stuff coming on. I'll happen to mention and throw out the Eddies in particular. We will be celebrating and finding out who our Teacher of the Year for Duval County Public Schools is this coming Friday, along with a number of other activities. With that concludes my report, and I will turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've had a very busy February to date. As the PowerPoint, there it is. I did want to share with the community several things that have happened in the school district. On February 1st, we actually had a visit from the Office of Safe Schools from DOE. This was a two-part visit. It consisted meeting with leadership, and they visited 10 of our schools. We were very pleased to know that our schools, we did not get a report as of yet, but we believe that our schools really had everything in place. Our training, all the things that we ensure are happening on our school campuses. We have started something, it's sort of bringing back something that was started many years ago. We call it the black box. So our schools all had their black boxes, ensuring that all those documents that are needed are all in one location. When they left for that day, they left with over 1,000 sheets of paper. Those sheets of paper had all of our board policies that are in alignment with the state board rule, and certificates of all the employees that have been trained in CESR. Everything that is in line, and I hope I get that board rule, is 6.08, all of that information. Though we still have a couple of items to send to them, we were very confident that we showed our commitment to ensuring that all of our schools and employees can work or learn on safe campuses and participating in school activities, and that we were fully compliant to safety and security requirements. There is only one piece of state board that we will still have to work towards, and it is a specialized training for law enforcement. 32 of our officers are trained, but it is a 3 to 5 day training, and pulling them out of schools is not an option. So we will be working to get the remainder of our officers trained over the summer when commitments to being in school, because that is a law that every school must be covered every day, and if someone's out, we have to make sure that we have coverage. So we will share more information with the board in our upcoming workshop. Also, if you have not heard, we are reviewing our media and classroom libraries. This is probably one thing that most of our public does not know about, is that we have 6.1 million titles in our school district. And since that rule requires that all of our library and elementary classroom libraries be reviewed by a media specialist, you can only imagine the time commitment that will take. We have determined about 2/3 of our 1.6 million titles are in classroom libraries at the elementary level. We are also required by law to have all titles, elementary and classroom elementary libraries, though I believe we are also going to require that of our secondary to have all titles searchable on the website. That is not a problem with our libraries. That's why our libraries are not closed, because we can already search all of our titles by library books that are inside brick and mortar libraries, but we cannot search our classroom libraries. Many of our teachers receive donations all the time, and those books are just not cataloged or logged, and that is what we are in the process of doing now. That is why we have asked teachers, if your books have not been reviewed, to lay them to the side, or yes, cover them. We have had one instance, unfortunately. A parent very kindly called and stated about a book, and that book was a donated book to the school district, to a particular school, and to a classroom library. We are trying to locate this particular book. It is not a book that would be appropriate for elementary children. It would be a high school book, but it was in a box of donated books. So that is the caution we are taking to ensure that none of our teachers could have possible, and we're more concerned about donated books. We know the books that have been purchased through our literacy series. We know many of the books that our teachers purchase are some of the same books in their library. So that is not as difficult of a task. It is donated books, books that we have no record of how that book was received, and how do we get that into the system. And I want to thank Mr. Colbert, our IT CIO, working with Ms. Renfro to develop this process of how we are going to be able to get these titles electronically uploaded to websites to ensure that parents can search on their school's website all of the books that are available to their children, whether it is in the library, which we already have a system for library, but we do not have a system for classroom libraries. So that is the process that we are going through at this time. And as we clear books, those books can be put back on teacher classroom libraries and be able to be utilized by students. But again, the challenge that we have is finding all of these donated books that are in our schools and in classroom libraries. As you know, the month of February, annually, we celebrate Black History Month, and on our website We have all the events that, whether it is at a school or in the community. So if you are wanting to attend any of our events that are related to DCPS, please go to our website and you can see that information on celebrating Black history. But as well as Black history, I don't know how many people know that February 1st for our elementary children is the tradition of celebrating the 100th day of school. And so they celebrate the 100th day of school by pretending to be 100 years old. So you see our little ones up there. I love the little one on the end who's wearing the cap with the glasses and he has his cane. But these are our pre-K and kindergartners celebrating the 100th day school celebration. I'll send you the email. These are just too cute, adorable. As Dr. Coker shared, I wanted to share some pictures from this week was National Signing Day. We actually have 2 National Signing Days. We have Athletics National Signing Day and Academics National Signing Day. But this was for athletics. And here are just a couple of examples of students signing their intent letters with their families. But I wanted to end with a video. Normally I don't show videos from newscasts, but this video did a great job of talking about our JAGs. And since our student representative is not able to be here this evening, I thought I would share this story on Student Voice Elevated through JAGs.
With the JAGs, you probably think of the NFL team, but it also stands for the Jacksonville Association of Governing Students, an advisory group made up of students from across Duval County Public Schools that shapes the future of local schools. News4Jax reporter Joe McLean spoke to one of those students in the group and joins us live from Mandarin High School tonight. Joe?
Yeah, this is essentially, as you said, an advisory council made up of representatives from all 25 high schools in the district, and they have input on key policy areas and basically the direction of DCPS. And as you said, it's not teachers or faculty or parents that make up this group, it's students. Elijah Melendez-Eister is a senior at Mandarin High School. At the beginning of the school year, he was asked to join the Jacksonville Association of Governing Students, a DCPS initiative aimed at providing students with a direct connection to the highest offices in the district.
I think that's really important because just like with the regular government system, I mean, the constituents have to have input in the process. And I think that that gives us as students more of a voice, and it really makes the district feel more like ours instead of just something that we're in.
Recently rebooted, the JAGS program allows DCPS students representation on the district committees, including the dress code, the student code of conduct, and mental health awareness committees. Melendez-Eister said part of the group's responsibility is working to hear from all of his student peers, even those who might not be outgoing enough to speak up.
They have just as much right as we do, the more outgoing ones, to have their voices heard. So I think that's really important to, as the outgoing people, to help get their point across as well.
Education is about them. So an opportunity for students to speak to the school board members and to understand how they view their perspectives and things of that nature.
Timothy Simmons is the district's regional superintendent for high schools. He said the committee also teaches students about civic engagement, that there are avenues to affect change that are even more effective than a student demonstration or protest, something DCPS has seen several times in the last 2 years.
It gives them an opportunity to know, hey, I can go to this individual and they represent me as a student from whatever school I might be at. They represent me, and I have a direct line to Dr. Green, the superintendent, have a direct line to the school board as well, and they can hear, my voice can be heard from them.
And Simmons says that's a lesson these students can take outside after they graduate from high school, a lesson that they have the capacity to get involved in the leadership of their communities and take part in the functioning of their government. Reporting live, I'm Joe McLean, Channel 4, the local station.
Joe, the group definitely has a memorable name. Do other area districts have similar student groups?
Yeah, they don't have as good of a name, but a lot of other districts do have this type of group, but they're handled differently in each district. St. Johns County has a student advisory group that meets quarterly. It includes high schoolers only, whereas Clay County's student advisory group meets every month, and it includes junior and high school. That's 7th through 12th grade. Back to you.
Joe McLean reporting to us live. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. And I will say, as a board, we're grateful for the opportunity we get to spend with those students each year. We are going to now move on to the public comments portion of our meeting. We are now on the first public comment portion of our agenda. The school board welcomes your comments on matters that are before the board for consideration. It is not the board's intent to respond this evening, but to use the input in our deliberations. To give everyone appropriate respect and courtesy, we ask the audience to refrain from audible comments or applause. When you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. The board will allocate time for public comment periods based on the number of speakers who have filled out speaker cards prior to the designated time. If 1 through 20 speakers have signed up to speak, each will be allotted 3 minutes. If 21 to 40 have signed up to speak, each will be allotted 2 minutes. Then if 41 or more speakers have signed up to speak, each will be allotted 1 minute. Tonight we have 44 speakers.
And 40 waived.
And 40 waived. So we will, each speaker will be allotted 1 minute to speak. With the green light in front of you, with the green light in front of me, when it starts blinking, you will have a minute remaining. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds remaining. When it turns red and the buzzer sounds, your time will be up. If your concerns exceed that time, you may always present written comments to the board. Our general counsel, Mr. Poole, is at the end of the dais and is happy to receive those. Board policy provides for an orderly and efficient meeting without disruption by words or actions. You are asked to refrain from references to specific individuals and to follow expectations for civil discourse. In an effort to mitigate against the spread of COVID-19, we have also placed hand sanitizer and disinfectant wipes at the podium. We certainly ask that each speaker wipe down the microphone and podium before they address the board. As always, please remember that the speaker cards were only accepted until 6:20 p.m. And as always, we thank you for your time in addressing the board. And with that, I will turn it over to our vice chair to get us started.
Super. I will start by calling 3 names. And I think if you remember my analogy last meeting, the first name is at bat. You're at the plate. The second name is on deck. And the third name is in the hole. So speaker, first waiting, second waiting. And then once a speaker finishes, I will call a name and you'll move to the number 3 spot, and we'll keep filling and moving that way. So first speaker up is Melissa Bernhardt. Second speaker is Kathleen Pereira. And third speaker is Sunny Bartley.
Good evening. Is this work? Is it on?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Bernhardt with CCDF, and I'm going to start from the back because I don't want to lose the back. So I'm going to start backwards. So First Coast News reported on January 24th that the president of Duval Teachers Union said, and I quote, "We're telling our employees, when in doubt, remove the book." Does the teachers union have paid employees, possibly paid activists within the school system? Do these employees have the authority to tell the teachers to remove books? Is that not the superintendent's job? So I'm going to go back to my point because I don't want to waste too much time on that. So anyway, I'd like to say thank you for the video that was posted on YouTube. The superintendent and the chief academic advisor, officer, shared a video explaining how wonderful the school is already doing in the book review process. And I think you guys were way ahead of the game because you started over the summer. And so now you're working on that next level of getting into schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next name is Carlos Pereira.
My name is Kathleen Pereira. Sorry, I have only 1 minute, so I'm going to go fast. My mouth literally dropped after I read that the school district is going to send a survey out at the end of this month to students as young as 10, asking them about their sex lives. Just what is the point of this? The CDC and the schools have no right to this kind of information, period. Introducing or pushing the notion of a sex life to children is just as irresponsible as letting a toddler play with matches. Once again, this is another shameful attempt to foist mature concepts onto immature individuals. The only logical conclusion is then that the district continues to use secrecy to sexualize and corrupt our children. Obviously, the district hasn't learned its lesson from associating with the porn-affirming organization known as Jasmine. And now, the way it's going, we can only expect that intercourse will be a future vocabulary word for kindergartens. Perhaps the district needs to take ethics and child development 101 again, but you can just clip out by throwing out this horrendous survey and by protecting our children's innocence. Thank you.
Next person in line is Kathleen Murray.
My name is Sonny B. Good evening. There's been an infiltration of homegrown Marxists attacking the very foundation of the country's Christian faith and the nuclear family by indoctrination and sexualization of our children. There is something seriously wrong in our society when it's acceptable to say that a man can become pregnant, breastfeed, and have a menstrual cycle. Furthermore, you have to be 21 to get a concealed weapon, 21 to gamble in a casino. But we allow doctors to mutilate children by castrating penises and testicles, hysterectomies, double mastectomies, and prescribing puberty blockers for innocent and impressionable children before the age of 18. This is criminal. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Caitlin Bayata.
My name is Carlos Pereira. I'd like to thank the school board for having severed its relationship for Jasmine. That was a big step in the right direction. However, it seems that a lot of people in the CPS, well, I should say some people in DCPS, do not feel the same way as they continue to push the precocious indoctrination of school children in sexual concepts for which they are not, in terms of maturity and life experience, ready, and would furthermore undermine the legitimate moral authority of their parents, to wit, by surveying children as young as 10 regarding their sexual behavior. I mean, that is an outrage. Such surveys do not constitute a teaching function, and what they do is they contribute to the hypersexualization of children and pull them down further into the muck of immorality that characterizes our times. The school system should not be complicit in that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next in line is Sean Clark.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Murray. As director of the Duval chapter of County Citizens Defending Freedom, CCDF, we thank you for removing the Jasmine logo from the DCPS website. Now we respectfully ask that you stop the planned use of the YBRS. The solution for encouraging abstinence is not through some survey questions to 10-year-olds like, how old were you when you had sexual intercourse for the first time? Followed by, with how many people have you had sexual intercourse? It is a well-known fact that you can neither unsee nor unhear something. Moreover, if someone tells you not to think of something, for example, don't think about sexual intercourse, the mind automatically invokes the image of sexual intercourse. Children are growing up with their senses assaulted by a stream of sexual messages in all forms of media. Can we please offer a safe place from that content? Rather than helping children, these surveys are contributing to their loss of innocence while simultaneously data mining personal information. Everything has its price, but in this case, the price for CDC money is not one that our children should pay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Leah Kennelly.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. Caitlin Bayata, I'm a proud parent of 2 elementary school students. It's my understanding from talking with other counties, we need to have procedures in place to adhere to new statutory requirements. Nothing stated about removing books from children's classrooms in the middle of the year. Why have books been removed from the classrooms in Duval in the middle of the year but not in other counties? Who specifically ordered the books to be removed from the classrooms? Once again, the burden of this audit falls on our teachers and our children. I'd like to talk quickly about my problems with Achieve. We talk about wanting to inspire our children, but Achieve does the exact opposite. It discourages our children and kills any form of creativity and creates anxiety. Please talk to parents, teachers, and children before making any changes with Achieve.
Thank you. Next up is Rebecca Nathanson.
My name is Sean Clark. I have 2 children in the Duval County school system in kindergarten and 2nd grade. And I'm here today to urge the board to return the books to the classrooms. I miss my kids bringing books home every day. I don't know how they are progressing anymore in school. I don't know what their reading levels are. I trust my children to choose content that is appropriate for them. And if I have a problem with the content that they have, we can have a conversation. My children are very smart. I think we should trust the children to choose content that is responsible for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Natalie Dreyer.
My name is Leah Kennelly. I have 2 children in Duval County schools. While I disagree with the removal of numerous books from our schools, such as the book about the life of Rosa Parks, as well as Julian is a Mermaid, which I have here, it's one of our family favorites. My hope is that with the removal of these books, that we can count on our children's test scores to go up. We're taking reading materials out of the classroom. I'm not sure how we expect that to improve their reading and literacy rates, especially when this was done during Literacy Week, at least at my children's school. With all these books being gone, are our teachers going to be given more resources? They've been begging us for more resources, and we want to support them and want them to have those. So with more books leaving, will they be supported in other ways? And I'm also concerned, does this give the district enough time? We have crumbling facilities that we have promised our families that they will be improved with the money we've raised through the tax changes. So with all the time being spent on the books, how is that helping our schools be safer places for our students? And finally, I would just say my biggest concern is not our children being endangered by books, but by bullets. So please, let's keep them safe.
Thank you. Next in line is Margaret Yarborough.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Nathanson with Moms for Liberty Duval, and we're here tonight to shine light on the school district's plan to ask children as young as 10 questions about their sexual orientation, sexual history, and gender identity in the upcoming YRB survey. The Federal Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment requires that parents provide affirmative consent and opt in rather than assumed permission with an optional to opt out. Specifically, we're asking the school district to circulate the survey to parents before it is administered to students, to require that parents opt in to having their children take the survey, and number 3, to eliminate all questions of a sexual nature or ask about gender identity. The federal government recognizes that questions of such a personal nature should never be asked to minors without their parents' full knowledge and consent, and so it's only right for you all to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Holly Dean.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Dreyer. Tonight, I'm here to let the board know the kinds of questions included in the 2021 YRBS and ask you to remove these questions from the 2023 version. I'm reading 2 of the 6 questions offered to middle schoolers in the section titled Sexual Intercourse. Question 45. How old were you when you had sexual intercourse for the first time? I've never had sexual intercourse. I was 8 or younger. I was 9. I was 10. I was 11. I was 12. I was 13. Question 46. How many people have you had sexual intercourse with? I've never had sexual intercourse. 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, 6 or more people. The worst case scenario has a 10-year-old answering that they have had sex first at 8 years old and they have been with 6 or more partners. If that child is real, that child needs immediate help. notifying parents first of the content and seeking an opt-in to save that child from a breakdown. Children with trauma should not be in this survey. What value is added to the district's educational content by seeking this information?
Thank you. Next in line is Beverly Banta.
Hi, I'm Margaret Yarbrough. I want to ask the board to remove questions like these from this year's YRBS survey. Question 72. The last time you had sexual intercourse with an opposite sex partner, what one method did you or your partner use to prevent pregnancy? A, I have never had sexual intercourse. B, no method was used to prevent pregnancy. C, birth control pills, not including Plan B or the morning after pill. D, condoms. E, an IUD such as Mirena or Paragard, or implant such as Implanon or Nexplanon. F, a shot such as Depo-Provera, patch such as Ortho-Evra, a birth control ring such as NuvaRing. G, withdrawal or some other method. Question 73. During the past 12 months, did you or your partner use emergency contraception or the morning after pill, also called Plan B, One Step, Next Choice, or Ella? Using all the brand names makes me wonder if those companies are interested in this data. Data mining students for any potential promotional partnership is wrong. And again, how does this add value to the district's educational content by knowing this information? Additionally, district library books on DCPS laptops need reviewing as well. Lydia,
Thank you. Next in line is Josh Nathanson.
Good evening. My name is Holly Dean. Tonight I'm here to let the board know that I'm asking you to remove these questions from the 2023 version of the YRBS survey. 26, have you ever been physically forced to have sexual intercourse when you did not want to? Yes or no? 27, during the past 12 months, how many times did anyone force you to do sexual things that you did not want to do? Count such things as kissing, touching, or being physically forced to have sexual intercourse. The answers range from 0 times on up to 6 or more times. Number 28, during the past 12 months, how many times did someone you were dating or going out with force you to do sexual things that you did not want to do? Count such things as kissing, touching, or being physically forced to have sexual intercourse. The answers range from 0 times to 6 or more times. Physically forced to have sex is rape. Why risk putting a minor rape victim into a PTSD state to gain their anonymous answer?
Thank you. Next in line is Lori Crunden.
My name is Beverly Banta. Tonight I'm here to let the board know the kinds of questions that will be asked to students as young as 10 years of age later this month in the YRBS, and I'm asking that these be removed. Question 49, which of the following best describes you? Heterosexual, gay or lesbian, bisexual? I describe my sexual identity some other way. I am not sure about my sexual identity. I do not know what this question is asking. Question 74, have you ever had oral sex? Yes or no? Question 75, during your life, with whom have you had sexual contact? I have never had sexual contact with females or males. What value is added to the district's education content by knowing this information? Thank you for your consideration of our request.
Thank you. Next in line is James Crunden.
Good evening. My name is Josh Nathanson with Moms for Liberty. Tonight, I'm here to let the board know the kinds of questions included in the 2021 YRBS and ask you to remove these questions from the 2023 version. Number 11, a person's appearance, style, dress, or the way they walk or talk may affect how people describe them. How do you think other people at school would describe you? A, very feminine. B, mostly feminine. C, somewhat feminine. D, somewhat feminine and masculine. E, somewhat masculine. F, mostly masculine. And G, very masculine. What value is added to the district's educational content by knowing this information? We thank you for our consideration of our request.
Thank you. Next in line is Scott Greenwald.
Hi, my name is Lori Crunden, and I have several items I would like to address tonight, but I'm going to focus on what I believe is the most important one, the YRBS survey, which is going to be given at the end of the month. As I read the questions for middle school, to say I was shocked and angered is an understatement. What in the world does knowing how many sexual partners a 12-year-old has had have to do with math? The only thing I could come up with is that the common denominator is sexualizing our children. They are 12 years old. Another question, which of the following best describes you? Heterosexual, gay, lesbian, bisexual? And then in high school, during the last 12 months, how many times did you actually attempt suicide? These are 14-year-olds. Marketing studies show that if you repeat a product name 7 times, the consumer begins to believe that they need that product. And it's the same for a child or a young adult. If you repeatedly tell a child he is a pony, he will eventually think he is a pony. So if you repeatedly throw sex, LGBTQ, and suicide at a child, they will likely feel influenced to go along with something they don't agree with, so they will be accepted.
Thank you.
Please do not use this.
Thank you. Next up in line, Dan Merkin.
Good evening. James Crunden. My address is on file. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm only got a minute here. I think it's important to note that there's probably nobody out there, few people out there, that care more about individually our students than public school teachers do. Now, as far as the agencies behind that and the people, the support staff, I think in the last 30 or 40 years, if you look at the administrators and the teachers unions and the numbers of people and the budgets, 41 states out of the country, I think it's the biggest budget, but the scores are going down. And I think we know who suffers the most. The lower income people do. My idea this evening is yes, I do. I want to thank you for taking Jasmine off the list. I like the intervention and the dialogue that has now become apparent with the community. I love that. And I think it's important that we do train up children the way we want them to go. With
Thank you.
Great stuff.
Thank you. Next in line is Jerry Holschult.
Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Green, thanks for having me here tonight. I guess I'm going to be the odd man out here. I came to talk about the bus service problems that we're having. I live out on the west side, and over the past couple months, we've seen the bus service from 10 minutes late to an hour late, consistently to no-show becoming a commonplace. Trying to get in contact with the bus company has been problematic. If you can get a hold of them, there's quite a belligerent attitude. I don't know if it emboldens them or not, but it seems to go nowhere. I know this has been a problem in the past, and I'm asking the board to perhaps revisit the bus company's contract, perhaps paying them on a merit-based plan might be a good idea. They might show up on time, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Ashley Goswami.
Hi, Dan Merkin, address on file. The bigger question about the YRBS is what happens when we don't ask these questions? If we don't ask the questions, is the assumption going to be that these things don't happen? Is the assumption going to be that gay and lesbian and bisexual students don't exist? Are we going to end up not giving money to the appropriate programs that address these very serious issues that are exposed by the YRBS in terms of young people needing specific interventions around sex ed or rape reduction or all those sorts of things? These are the reasons why we need to ask these questions. By assuming we just brush them away, that's not going to solve the problems. And it's not going to give us any information about what we need to do. So we need to keep these questions, and we need to be really, really thoughtful about how we use this data so that we can drive our community forward in a way where everyone gets what they need in terms of support and health and feels a part. So thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Gary Smith Sr.
Good evening, Jerry Holsholt. I am the Director of Schools for Florida Cyber Charter Academy. And Chairwoman Coker, board members, and Superintendent Green, I just want to thank you. I know I'm a little premature. You haven't done your consent agenda yet, but I want to thank you for the renewal of our charter this evening. We've had a great partnership with the school board and the school system over the last couple of years. But I really wanted to come up here and recognize Eugene Hayes and his department and the oversight they provide and the support they provide not only our charter school but all the charter schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Rachel Sheldon.
Hi, Ashley Goswami. I rushed out of the house today, so please add some sort of TikTok filter if you can, or CIO afterwards. So thanks for allowing public comments. I came prepared to talk about the books, specifically the number and the volume of books that were being banned. And I'd encourage anybody who's involved in that process to please look at the titles of those books. It does appear to the moderate majority of the community that it seems like many of those target diversity protagonists or diverse protagonists, and that's concerning. And so I certainly hope that's not the case. I don't know the background of the media specialists, but to a large number of us in the community, I have a very young daughter. We're not in public school yet, but we have several of those books in our library at home, and we enjoy reading them very much. So I would hope whomever is involved in that process is really making sure that we are focusing on the kids, because those are the ones who need to be represented and taught tolerance, among other topics.
Thank you. Next in line is Mandy Rubin.
Good afternoon. My name is Gary Lewis Smith, Sr. I am a grandfather of 7 daughters in the Duval County public school system. This is my first time. Normally I go to city council meeting and I raise some saying over there, but I'm horrified for what I've heard tonight. But that when I come up for Jeremiah 29:11. That's the verse there for God our plan and of our future. I have 7 African American daughters, 4 that's attending the school. So my thing is about the African American studies and the histories. I'm a grandson of a sharecropper, and I do not want my kids or my daughters, because I have no grandsons, to be their history to be taken out or just skirted down, because they need to know not only from home but at school too. But what I've heard tonight, I'm really horrified, and hopefully God does have a plan for us, because He already knows our future. So thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Patty Price.
Rachel Sheldon. I'm the mother of a 4th grader in Duval County Schools, and I've got a little one who's about to turn 4 and hopefully going to be in pre-K this fall. We're big bookworms, and my kids have the privilege of having a lot of books at home, but I know that not all kids have that privilege. They also don't have the privilege to be able to go to the library. They don't have the privilege to order books off of Amazon. And so I think we need to be really intentional in thinking about that when we're thinking about what we're doing with the books in our schools. It's an unfortunate area where our schools have to really fill that gap. Our schools have a very diverse population, kids from all marginalized identities, and fill our classrooms in all grade levels. And our libraries need to reflect that, not just for the benefit of the kids of those backgrounds, but for all children. They need to learn to empathize and understand kids from all backgrounds. And I think we need to, it's very important, I think a lot of words that we've heard make that really evident. Obviously, every parent needs to be involved in what their child is reading.
Thank you.
But they shouldn't have anything to stop other kids from reading.
Next in line is Shannon Shanklin.
Hi, my name is Mandy Rubin, and I'm going to share my 2nd grader's letter expressing his feelings about books being removed from his classroom. Why do all of the books have to be checked if they are appropriate or not? Why do you get to learn and we don't get to learn? It's no fair. I want our books back. My classroom is sad about the books. From Zeke. We need diverse representation in our books. Kids need to be able to see themselves, their family members, and their friends in the books that they read. Representation in books builds empathy, compassion, and humanity. Representation literally saves lives. Banning and censoring books is immoral and backward, and I hope that we can get the books back ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Clayton Kirby.
name is Patty Price. Tonight I'm here to let the board know the kinds of questions included in the 2021 YRBS and ask you to remove these questions from the 2023 version. I know you've heard this many times. Some people describe themselves as transgender when their sex at birth does not match the way they think or feel about their gender. Are you transgender? The answer is no, I am not transgender. Yes, I am transgender. C, I am not sure if I am transgender. D, I do not know what this question is asking. You are first defining the term transgender before asking a young student if they identify as such. This is a leading question. How does this make sense? Remember, this is being asked to children as young as 10. What value is added to the district's educational content by knowing this information? The additional is if names were attached to these, then we could offer support and guidance to these students. But since this is an anonymous survey, it's impossible to reach them. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Next in line is Annie Kirby.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Shanklin, and I am a parent of kids in the public school system. I've attended quite a few of these meetings, and I have seen many people defame teachers and leaders in the school system, calling them groomers and accusing them of pushing porn in school. I have never heard the elected leaders of this body ask for respect for our teachers or proof of these accusers. Last meeting, when a speaker expressed frustration and uttered an expletive, he was admonished for using foul language by the board. I am much more offended by the disrespect shown towards our teachers and the expression of frustration on behalf of the teachers, and would ask this board to show equal deference for name calling and defamation as they do for foul language. I would also ask that this body show respect to our valued teachers by allowing them to and trusting them to reopen their classroom libraries. If there must be a list of books available to the parents, then we need to engage community stakeholders to help this overworked teachers inventory and place them back into the classroom immediately. I know you want to protect teachers by closing their libraries, but all this action accomplishes is feeding the narrative that these teachers cannot be trusted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next in line is Brian Morrill.
Good evening. I'm Clayton Kirby, the 31-year resident here of Jacksonville, Florida, son of a deceased second grade teacher. I want to thank you for taking down the DCPS and removing the Jasmine logo from your website. She would join me in thanking you for that today also. I want to also state that parents that I associate with at my church want their children to receive an education free of sexual gender ideology, and to be assured that their personal information is not gathered and collected for any use other than education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next in line is Andy Bruck.
Good evening. My name is Annie Kirby. Thank you very much for opening up the floor to discussion or for comments. I would like to make sure that the children that are attending the Duval public school system, which I'm a product of the public school system, but I was a bit taken back when I saw the survey questions and a number of other items, but I'll get to the point. I would like to make sure that the education that's provided through the Duval public schools is free of sexual or gender ideology. I do not want personal information being collected from the children, and certainly any kind of survey should be on a basis of parents having the information first, and they should be able to decide if their child is going to participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next in line is Melissa Rafus.
Good evening, fellow public servants. Brian Morrill, address on file. You've made great progress in the last several months, and I come before you to thank you and also address a couple of asks for you. First, stop the planned collection of students' personal information through the CDC's YRBS. I believe it is inappropriate, and God knows the last couple of years have proven the CDC does not have our best interests at heart. Immediately remove books from the Essential Voices collection that violate Florida's parental rights and education laws. the content that would tend to sexualize children, inappropriate. I think some of the things that have been mentioned tonight should make us all cringe, okay? May God bless us all, because we need it.
Thank you. Next in line is Corolla Zalls.
My name is Andy Bruck, and I cannot adequately address the seismic shift taking place in Florida's educational direction in terms of Black history in 1 minute, so therefore propose that the school board host a town hall meeting devoted exclusively to this topic. I am swayed by scholar Mariana Papastefano's argument that since history nourishes many of our misconceptions about others and entails cross-cultural encounters that involve not only healthy exchange of cultural artifacts, but also violence and pain, that conflicts do not belong only to the past, so long as the debt they created remains still unpaid. My full-length post is available at liberality.org. The philosopher David Norton described liberality as, quote, the cultivated disposition to recognize and appreciate truths and values other than one's own, unquote. I speak tonight with the conviction that we need to create a world where such a perspective is widely honored and to bequeath that to our children.
Thank you. Next in line is Brennan Mitchell.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Rafus. I've raised 4 children in the Duval County Public School System. I am very concerned about the increasing sexualization of our children from multiple directions. First, I strongly support removing any Essential Voices books in our classroom that have sexual content. It's inappropriate. We need to do that very quickly. And second, there is no reason for the public school system to be collecting personal information from children without parents' knowledge or approval. If you go forward with the risk survey sponsored by the CDC, it must be opt-in for parents. We do not need to be sexualizing our children through the content of the survey or through the books that we have in our classrooms and many other avenues that we as parents see growing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Sarah Mitchell.
Hello, I'm Brennan Mitchell, and I am a student of Douglas Anderson School of the Arts in the theater department. I was in the play Indecent, which was recently canceled. It was a show that celebrated the Jewish and queer community, but in it being canceled, I lost the opportunity as a student to celebrate who I am. This, along with the banning and removal of so many important books and stories from our classroom, is hurting my education as a student. I trust my teachers to guide me through my education of historical texts and plays, but by limiting them, you're only hurting me. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call 2 names, Carl Polk and then Ken Atley.
Hi, Sarah Mitchell. That's my kid. I'm proud of him. I'm proud he owns his learning. I'm thankful that we have trusted our school, that I can trust his educators. I worry our board is lacking strength to stand faithful to your mission, especially during this time of polarizing politics and campaigning. We shop at the same Publix. We hunker down together. I don't think this is difficult to reason together. But I worry. I agree that we need a town hall meeting over this topic, the topic of gender, the topic of books, how our students are invited to engage in their education, and when it is appropriate that we look at the content that they're seeing. For context, my kid, who was going to be in Indecent, which is a beautiful play, is now at the end of the play that he's currently in, going to kill himself. Teenage suicide.
Thank you. Next in line is Alyssa Barr.
My name is Ken Attlee, and I hope you all are as thoroughly nauseated by what we've been hearing this evening that you're doing to our children and the sexualization that we're hearing, and I hope that you will respond immediately and quickly to what you've heard the vast majority of this audience has requested of you. So I encourage you to do so quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you, sir, are you Carl Polk? Got it, okay. So then I'm going to call up Tim Miller to get in line.
Hi, my name is Carl Polk. I want to thank you for letting us speak, and during the meeting observing how you guys are trying to help our students and some of the programs that you've got going on. I appreciate that. But most of my main comments are about this survey that's going on, and I have a few things I just want to say. Are these the seeds you want to sow into the hearts and minds and souls of our children? Seeds which can sprout in the lives of our children, opening Pandora's box to unknown toils we would not want them to experience. Our children are the building blocks of the future of our society. What kind of society do we envision if we continue down this path? What will be the outcome for the unity and cohesiveness of our families within our society? It's the responsibility of the parents to train up a child in the way they should go. The parents are responsible for feeding, clothing, protecting, nurturing, loving, and stewarding the education and health and the spirit of their children. Please do not advocate for or support programs, policies, or practices which have the potential to disrupt.
Thank you. Next in line is Les Paul Garner.
Hi, Alyssa Barr. I'm a parent, a resident, and a professor in public health. I'm here in support of the YRBS survey. Parents can review it and opt out. In 2019, from our survey, we learned that about 5% of our kids said yes to having had sex before age 11. We all need to know this, and we all need to do something to reduce it. We're able to learn about their risks and their challenges directly from them. Yes, some of the questions are personal, but these are things that many teens are experiencing. We need to learn about their challenges that they're faced with so we can help them. We have a lot of local groups here in Duval County who use this data to help kids. They're building services and programs. This includes the Kids Hope Alliance, Dolores Bar Weaver Policy Center, the Players Center for Child Health, Drug Free Duval, Florida Suicide Prevention. The data isn't just numbers, it's our kids. They're telling us about them, and we need to listen to them. Before we remove any questions, please review the data and what the outcome is so we know what our kids are going through. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Shin Liu.
Good evening. My name is Tim Miller. ESE staffing is still a problem many, many years later. You have ESE teachers that have a caseload of 24 to 28 students. It's okay for a normal teacher, but when you consider this is across multiple grades, multiple classes, multiple disabilities, how can they service all those children and meet their IEP, which means we're out of compliance with IEPs, and still have time to write IEPs, write addendums, work with parents that need more information? They don't. The caseloads are way too high. My wife would normally be here, but guess what she's doing? She's writing IEPs this evening, just like she is almost every night and on the weekends. Caseloads are way too high. The kids are not getting the services because the ESE teachers do not have the time to implement the IEPs correctly, which puts us out of compliance. I've been saying this for years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in line is Yuping Song.
Good evening. My name is Les Paul Garner. In 2019, the close of Northwestern Middle School, it was a tragedy that they did not have a chance to have home basketball game before the school year even ended. The walls of the gym were knocked out. And that's one thing we had to think about. I'm speaking for my neighbor, you know, but the children was really tragic to them that they could not have that. All the games were waited last year. They're graduates, seniors this year. Some at Stanton, some at other different schools. So when we look at that, we also realize one thing is that when we look at the students, they go to the zoo, when they see the lioness and they see the lion there together, there's no, the lion and the lions they're not confused. You know, that art right there is great, right there, and it should be put on the vehicles that represent the Duval County School Board. And also, when we look at one thing is that James Weldon Johnson, he founded Stanton. He's not celebrated.
Thank you. Next in line is Gamble Scott.
Good evening. My name is Xin Liu. I strongly against the youth risk behavior survey for all the Duval students. Please stop it immediately. The survey can be used as a way of sexualize children, introduce gender ideology. Many parents, including me, have said so many times the school should focus on reading, write, math, and science. We need to keep the sexual education at home, not at school. And this is a highly sensitive topic, involves various religions, views, and a value system, and public school is not the right place to discuss those sensitive topics. It is illegal to harvest students' personal information and use it to further indoctrinate them. And my second request is reevaluate the recent adopted sexual supplement material. It's violent Florida statute and DCPS policy curriculum guideline, chapter 4. The program will be abstinence-based and will be promote sexual abstinence as the expected standard for the students.
Thank you. Next in line is Beth Vaughn.
Hi, my name is Yuping Song. I'm here tonight because I heard you are conducting a survey having a lot of sensitive, ridiculous questions related with sex for kids as young as 10 years old. I think it's a very bad survey for kids. Like, can I ask you, when was your first sex and how many partners have you had? So you are attacking, misleading, inducing our kids. Even they had sex, it's their privacy. If you ask, you are invading their privacy. So stop this survey immediately. Another thing is you might also notice there are too many smoke shops around school area, around our kids. So please do something to stop it. Imagine if your kids are doing something like sex, drugs, or being a transgender, will you be happy? If you are happy, you can do your kids, but not to our kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next in line is Debbie Elliott. Are you Gamble? Okay.
Hi, Gamble Scott. As Dr. Green mentioned earlier, it is Black History Month. And of course, you know, the irony in all of this is how can we celebrate Black History Month and teach our kids about Black history when we are whitewashing Black history? Books are being pulled off the shelves due to this recent legislation, this unfortunate legislation. And Duval County is one of the counties that is encouraging teachers and staff to err on the side of caution. This is going to result in a complete erasure of any representation because our teachers are fearful of being charged with a felony. This climate of fear is not healthy. I'm sure we're all familiar with the famous quote, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." We are doing our children a huge disservice by shielding them from even the ugly parts of our history. Sticking our heads in the sand, shielding our children from this is not going to help.
And I just want to give a reminder to please not refer to people by name. It's happened a couple of times, and it hasn't been an ill will in any way. I just want to remind people. No, we're good. It's happened a couple of times tonight, and that's board policy, so thank you.
Next in line is Chris Moser.
Hi, Beth Vaughn here. I have a child in elementary school in Duval County, and talking about the books, the bill states that all materials must be free of pornography, gender identity issues, and books relating to discrimination based on race, color, sex, or national origin. To some, this may seem reasonable. However, the bill does not list or any specific process for this, nor does it come with reasonable process and system for vetting the books other than these one person in our county that or in our school that is a media specialist. Just last month, I attended a school meeting where there was talk of placing guns in the teachers' hands to protect our children. And I just feel confused by the thought that we don't trust our teachers enough to place books in our children's hands, but we trust them to hold guns. So that feels confusing to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Deborah Elliott, and I'm have raised 4 children, and just want to say 2 of them, one went to Paxton, one graduated from Mandarin High School, and the other 2 were FLVS. Anyways, just wanted to say that I am thankful that you have removed, Jasmine logo from the Duval County Public Schools website. It endorses activities of an organization that involves children. What elementary child, what kids need to be, they already are so confused. They don't need to be having teachers tell them when and where to have sex, and the parents need to be allowed to opt in, and the parents need to be told what is going on in this school, on the schools. This is ridiculous. I'm just appalled. I have a 10-year-old grandson. He's not here, he's in Virginia. But anyways, I can't imagine my 10-year-old grandson being asked when you had sex, or do, they don't even know. Their minds are confused.
Thank you.
They're just being.
Can I start talking?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. I echo the former DA mother and child. We started this meeting with the.
Please don't refer to people by name.
I didn't.
Okay.
She didn't give her name.
Oh, she didn't give her name.
Can I stop and start over?
Can you state your name for the
State your
record?
name, and we'll start you over.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Moser for the record.
Thank you.
I echo the comments of the unnamed DA parent and the unnamed child. We all started this meeting clapping for the amazing accomplishment of getting children at the Duval County School District to perform at Carnegie Hall in New York. I think it's important to note that all but one that I know of came from a magnet school for the arts. We said, and I heard someone say up here, that it takes a village. We have to meet students where they are. Well, at Douglas Anderson, the tagline is excellence in academics and the arts. These kids are in the top 1% in the nation. They are diverse, they are gifted, they are twice exceptional, and the censoring access to literature, pieces of music, such as performing in a play after written parental consent, is going to backfire. And if you want them to get into the best schools in the country,
Thank you.
Carnegie Hall,
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our speakers, and now we have 40 cards of people who have waved. I will read their names and their topics. Mike Gay, in ties with CDC Dash Grant. Valerie Johnson, oppose YRBS and students' personal information, no data mining. Ramona Rude, opposition, YRBS, stop collection of students' personal information. Melena Gay, support, in ties with CDC Dash Grant. Gregory Adams, opposition, Jasmine, please remove Jasmine as a resource on the DCPS website. Their ties showing children pornography is unacceptable. Thomas Jagger, immediately remove those books from Essential Voice collection that clearly sexually groom children. Karen Barker, remove Jasmine from the DCPS website as it endorses the activities of an organization that involves children in sexually explicit games and activities. Stop collecting students' personal info through the YSRB and make it opt-in. Immediately remove those books from Essential Voices collection that violate Florida's parental rights in education. Stuart Barker, immediately remove Jasmine from DCPS website, stop collecting student info through YSRB, opt-in only, Immediately remove all books from the Essential Voices collection that violate Florida's parental rights in education and contain content that sexualizes children. Tabitha Byers, opposition. Stop the collecting of students' personal information through the YSRB. There should be opt-in option instead of opt-out. Immediately remove the Jasmine logo from DCPS website. This organization involves children in explicit games and activities. M. Ann Martin, please stop collecting personal information on the YSRB. Tammy Weinzettel, remove books that violate Florida parental rights in education. Remove Essential Voices books that sexualize children. Rosamar Duca, thank you for removing Jasmine. Don't use YSRB provided by CDC, and I support teachers removing books with pornography content. Ruth Weidenhoft, this says support and oppose. YSRB use from CDC. I support teachers removing pornography from classrooms and library. Please provide faith-based resources. Lana Gardner, support teachers removing pornography from classrooms. Stop collecting personal information on the YSRB. Remove Essential Voices books that violate Florida parental rights in education. Ed Williams, please stop with sexualizing the children. Thank you for making clean break with Jasmine. Kathy DeClefs, stop collecting YSRB. It has no place in the classroom and is uncomfortable for kids. It is demeaning to them. Remove Jasmine from DCPS website. They have plenty of money to do their own marketing. Essential Voices collection violates parental rights, inappropriate to the point of detriment. It is free speech. I'm actually not going to read that. Ronald Soroka, opposition, please stop collecting children's personal info through YSRB or YRBS. Please remove the books from the Essential Voices collection that violate parental rights in education. Jennifer Soroka, opposition, stop collecting the personal information of students through YRBS. Remove books from Essentials collection that sexualize children and violate Florida parental rights in education. Thank you for removing Jasmine from the website. Thank you for all you do for our kids. Eric Parker, support end ties with CDC grant that obligates DCPS to use YRBS that data mines our children. Don't use the survey. Janine Powell, support ending connection to or cooperating with any provision or execution of the CDC grant and YRBS. Pamela Voss, support end ties with CDC grant that obligates DCPS to use YRBS data mines our children. Regina Clark, teachers union does not protect children. Why remove all sexual books, game, do not fund Jasmine. Trinity Baker, in support of inclusive health curriculum and the continued use of the YRBS survey, all questions. Nancy Kepke, remove Jasmine logo from DCPS website, stopping the collection of students' personal info and make it an opt-in for participation. Remove books from the Essential Voices collection which violate Florida's parental rights in education and contain content that sexualize children. Belinda Conan, YRBS survey, sexually explicit material in schools, Jasmine logo on DCPS website, all needs to stop. We cannot continually sexualize our children. Joanna Lum, Organizations that endorse sexually explicit games and activities opposition, collect students' personal info via YSRB opt-in for participation. Yvonne Lockbaum, opposition to YRBS survey by the CDC. Daniel Patrick, stop collecting students' personal info through YSRB, remove books that violate Florida's parental rights and sexualize children. Oh, there's a lot on this one, so bear with me. Therese Watson, opposition. Jasmine, immediately remove the Jasmine logo from DCPS website, stop collecting students' personal info through YSRB and make it opt-in only. Immediately remove those books from the Essential Voices collection that violate Florida's parental rights in education and contain content that sexualizes children. Cut all ties with Jasmine and its affiliates. Debbie Atlee, no topic. Oh my, this is another long one. Mary Riley. The first sentence of the Youth Behavior Risk Survey read as follows. The survey is about health behavior, and then questions what health behavior means. The survey functions to sexualize children. Not the business of the school system to collect personal, sexual, gender, ideological data. Should be used on an opt-in basis, if at all. Remove Jasmine logo from website and eliminate Central Voices collection. Okay, that covers that one. Lori Stratton, opposed to collecting Duval County student data through Youth Risk Behavior Survey. Opposed Jasmine logos on the website. Would like to see Essential Voices collection books removed because they violate Florida parental rights in education through sexualization of children. Samantha Hamill, I support all items on YRBS survey. Brian Kennedy, opposition leaving Jasmine on the DCPS website. Jeff Arneson, stop collecting student info through YRBS, remove Jasmine logo from website, remove books that violate Florida law. David Neal Scott, opposition to censorship of indecent Jack Wong. Opposition, stop collecting students' personal information through YSRB and make it opt-in. Joseph Lynn, opposition any LGBTQ plus resources being pushed or promoted on school children whatsoever. Please ensure that Jasmine logo remains removed from website. Please stop garnering students' personal info via YSRB opt-in only. Please remove any Essential Voices books that violate Florida parental rights in education. Yang Lee, immediately remove the Jasmine logo from DCPS website. Stop collecting students' personal information through YSRB and make it opt-in only. Remove books from the Essential Voices collection that violate Florida's parental rights in education and contain content that sexualize children. Stop the survey to kids only 10 years old and no survey to high school students either. Hu Bin Ming, stop survey to kids of any ages about sex. Stop forcing sex ideology on kids. Stop collecting students' personal information through YSRB. Make it opt-in only. And that concludes all public comment and waived cards.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Pearson. I also want to just thank the audience this evening, as always, for allowing civil discourse to occur. Whatever you spoke on, whatever your viewpoint is, we as a board appreciate the fact that people come, they speak, and we actually can hear everything everyone says. Anyway, civil discourse remains important to this board, and I thank everyone for allowing that to happen tonight. That being said, we're going to move on to our designated parent organizations. At this time, I believe I saw Mr. Hawk in the house. He is the head of our District Advisory Council. He's the chairperson. If you would love to come up, we would love to hear from you.
Good evening to the chair, the board members, superintendent. Glad to be here tonight. Just would like to report a few things from the District Advisory Council. In October, we were able to hold elections, and there are some new positions that are now in place. We have a new secretary, which is Ms. Budd. Ms. Tooks is still our vice chair, and unfortunately for you, I still remain the chairperson. But I'm always glad to do it. Our meetings have been lively, and I appreciate those of you who have come to visit with us so far, and we're looking forward to the rest of you having an opportunity to come to one of the District Advisory Council meetings. There are a few things that I did want to bring up for your consideration and things I think we need to look into. One of them was, and if I get this wrong, correct me or correct it in your records, it's HB 1467. And there's been, the district is aware of it now, but there's been a lot of confusion in the school concerning how this is supposed to play out. And we have certain schools and teachers who have just basically boxed up books because they don't want to be in violation of this particular bill. And in so doing, naturally there is a genuine fear for their freedom, for their finances, and for their career. As these things go out, I guess Tallahassee maybe should have a better media person to present this, because as the news gets a hold of it and puts it out, even though the district is telling the schools certain things, when people begin to believe that their livelihood and their freedom can be threatened, then there is a genuine fear, and overkill takes place. And this is what's happening right now in a lot of our schools. Books are just being boxed up so that kids don't get a hold to them, and the people who have the books are not in violation of 1467. So again, I know the district is aware of it and they are making effort towards it, but I just wanted to bring it to the attention of somebody who may not be aware that this is going on. And also, I need to bring to attention, I need to get clarity on a particular issue that's going on at Riverside. There's been a request from a board member to name a particular item after a person. And Riverside is going about trying to put in place a means by which to decide whether or not to name the field. And I'm trying to find out from either the board or the district if the DAC should come up with the process, or if the board is going to come up with the process, or if the district is going to come up with the process. Because if Riverside has their own process and another board member requests from another school for the same thing, and they have a different process, and the naming takes place in one issue and not in another issue, then one person who did not get their request met is going to say, well, they did it different, and we're going to have an issue. So I think we need clarity on exactly how this should play out. It shouldn't be decided by individual SAC. If the district, if DAC needs to come up with a plan, we can do so. But we're looking for direction from either the board or from the district itself so that all of us are on the same page when these types of things come up. That's all I have. Again, glad to see everybody, and have a wonderful night.
All right. Thank you for Mr. Hawk. And I'm sure that district leadership will follow up with you. I did not see her, I don't think, but let me go through the rest of our parent organizations. Kay Hawkins from PTA, Vasco Eagle, the Title I Parent Advisory Council, and Erin Hutchinson, Exceptional Student Education Advisory Committee. I do not see them. All right, we are moving on to our designated employee organizations. And again, I'm not sure that I saw any of them, but we will call them out just in case. Terry Brady with DTU, Elton Brown with AFSCME, Jason Geiger, JSA, Ronnie Burris, LIUNA, David Bryant, IBEW, and Randy Reeves, FOP. I did not see any of them. Okay. We are now going to move on to the approval of the minutes. That the Duval County School Board approve the minutes for the meetings listed in the agenda items below. January 9th, 2023, regular board meeting. January 10th, regular board workshop. I'm sorry, January 10th, 2023, board workshop. January 17th, 2023, agenda committee meeting. January 17th, 2023, board workshop. January 19th, 2023, policy handbook review committee meeting. And January 31st, 2023, member-to-member meeting, Cindy Pearson, Charlotte Joyce. I ask for a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Board Member Jones and a second by Board Member Hershey. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. That item passes by a vote of 7-0. We'll now move on to approval of the consent agenda. First, are there any items to place on the consent agenda or items for discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Board Member Hershey and a second by Board Member Willie. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. That item passes 7-0. We're now moving on to the next item. This is public hearing and vote revisions to Chapter 4 Board Policies. Dr. Green, I'll ask you to read your recommendation.
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt the recommended revisions to the following policies in School Board Manual, Chapter 4. Policy 4.20, Instructional Materials Selection and Allocation.
I'm opening the public hearing at this time. If there is anyone who wishes to speak, you're allotted 1 minute during the public speaking portion. Individuals who wish to speak to this item should line up in the aisle near the podium behind the designated district team member. Do I have any speakers? I do. Okay. Give them a moment to come around the corner. Or are they leaving? They may be leaving. I'm not sure. Oh, they're leaving. They're not speaking. Don't want to deny anybody a right to speak. Okay, they are all leaving. They are all leaving. Okay. Since we have no one that's speaking on this item, at this time, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. At this time, I ask for a motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Pearson and a second by Board Member Carney. Are there any board members who wish to speak to this item? Board Member Willie.
Through the chair, could you just, for the public, could you talk about the change or amendment that's happening here? I think it's 4.20.
Dr. Green, do you want to?
The change on 4.20 is two bits of information. Number 2, selection of district adopted or state adopted textbooks and instructional materials will be in alignment with Florida statutes and state rules, including Rule 6A-7.0710, instructional material evaluation procedures. Those procedures require that the school district not only post and make sure that those materials can be seen by the public, but that, and I will say Duval was probably ahead of the curve, that we have invite parents or community members to serve on those evaluation, and they can be invited to serve on those evaluation committees. So this is just updating in alignment with state statute. and board rule.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that. I think, as you mentioned, I was going to mention, we were sort of ahead of the curve there. And it's so important because sometimes I feel like folks don't believe that we are ahead of the curve or even have a curve. But we do. We have systems in place. We invite community to come out and see our textbooks. So I just wanted to make sure that folks knew what we're voting on in this hearing. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wants to speak? Seeing none, I will call for your vote. That item passes with a vote to 7-0. We will now move on to the public hearing and vote revisions to Chapter 5 Board Policies. Dr. Green, can you read your recommendation?
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt the recommended revisions to the following policies in School Board Manual, Chapter 5. Policy 5.13, admissions to post-secondary career and technical educational programs. Policy 5.15, homeless students. Policy 5.24, student rights and responsibilities. Policy 5.26, student detention, search, and seizure. Policy 5.28, zero tolerance for school-related crimes. Policy 5.61, use of restraint and seclusion with students with disabilities.
At this time, I'll open the public hearing. If there is anyone who wishes to speak to this item, they will have 1 minute to speak during our public hearing. Individuals wishing to speak should line up at the area adjacent to the podium where the district member is standing to facilitate those items. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I'll ask for a motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Pearson and a second by Board Member Hershey. Are there any board members who wish to speak to this item? Seeing none, I will call for your vote. That item passes 7-0. We'll now move on to the public hearing and vote revisions to Chapter 6 Board Policies. Dr. Green, can you read your recommendation, please?
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt the recommended revisions to the following policies in School Board Manual, Chapter 6. Policy 6.0, professional ethics.
At this time, we'll open our public hearing. If there is anyone who wishes to speak to the item, you will have 1 minute to speak. If you would like to speak, we ask you move towards the podium, and there is district leadership there to facilitate this dialogue. Seeing no one wishing to speak, we'll close the public hearing. I'll ask for a motion.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Board Member Jones and a second by Board Member Hershey. Are there any board members who wish to speak to this item? Seeing none, I will call for your vote. That motion passes 7-0. I will say there were some people that left, but they didn't leave during the public speaking part, so we didn't get them confused. That worked out. We will now move on to public hearing and vote revisions to Chapter 8 Board Policy. Dr. Green, can you read your recommendation?
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt the recommended revisions to the following policies in School Board Manual, Chapter 8. Policy 8.09, school safety monitoring. Policy 8.21, behavioral threat assessment teams.
We will now open the public hearing on this item. Again, if there is anyone who wishes to speak to this item, you will have 1 minute to speak. We ask that you move over to the side closest to the podium where there is district leadership there to facilitate this dialogue. If there is anyone who wishes to speak, we ask you to move there now. And there is no one moving, nor are they leaving. We will close this, I'm sorry. We will close this public hearing. We'll ask for a motion at this time. I have a motion by Vice Chair Pearson and a second by Board Member Carney. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the item? Seeing none, I will call for your vote. That motion passes 7-0. We will now move on to board member travel. That the Duval County School Board confirm that the travel listed is for official board business and that it complies with the rules of the State Board of Education. March 17th through the 22nd, 2023, Washington, D.C., Council of Great City Schools, 2023 Annual Legislative Policy Conference, Coker and Hershey, Joyce struck, item amended. March 15th through the 17th, 2023, Tallahassee, Florida, FSBA, 36th Annual Day in the Legislature, Pearson added, item added. I ask for a motion.
Move approval. Second.
I have a motion by Board Member Jones and a second by Board Member Willie. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for your vote. Do we need to do a hand vote?
It passed,
What was the
7-0.
that item passes 7-0. We'll now move on to superintendent's travel, that the Duval County School Board approve the following superintendent's travel. February 15th through the 17th, 2023, Orlando, Florida, Florida Association of School Districts, District School Superintendents, FADS, Spring Leadership Conference. I ask for a motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Pearson and a second by Board Member Joyce. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. That item passes 7-0. We are now going to move on to For the Record, and I will start down on the end with Board Member Joyce.
All right, thank you so much. I do have some For the Record items this evening. I want to start with the amount of public comment that we received relating to the book issues that we're having in our classrooms. As I've gone through and I've looked at 1446, and I reached out to Ms. Thompson today through to Dr. Green. On 1447, there's a section in here that says each school board shall adopt procedures for developing library and media collections and post the procedures on the website for each school within the district. And I went back and looked, and around July last year when this law changed, we did some tweaking with the policy, and the procedures were brought before the board. I think it would be, because I think there's so much confusion out there in our classrooms with our teachers and everything about these procedures, I feel like maybe the board needs to review these procedures again and maybe in a workshop and work through that. Also, there's a lot of misinformation around the felony charges a teacher could receive based on section, I think, 847. And so I'm asking the board, and for my record tonight, that we address this as soon as possible so that we can have a conversation, so that we can bring some clarity for ourselves as well as for the teachers in the district. So that's what I wanted to bring up about book banning. My second item is the YRBS survey. We've had a lot of conversation around that as well. I have reached out to Dr. Green with some conversation around this. She has assured me that the parents will receive notification before the survey goes out. She's also included the idea, or she's going to include the survey in that briefing. But I do, as a mother of 5 children, I do have a lot of concerns around some of these questions on the YRBS, especially when we're asking them as young as 10 and 11 years old. And I have a copy of the 2023 survey, I believe, and there's questions that weren't even said tonight that were uncomfortable for me, especially for those younger students. I don't know if we as a board can do anything about changing this survey before it goes out, but I would like to request that not only do we provide the survey to the parents, but we also indicate, highlighted somewhere in that parent notification that the questions contain sexual content, something around that, so they know that this is something their students are going to be asked. It could relate to oral sex or how many partners you've had or anything around that. So I'm just going to, bring that to the board. I think that could be helpful, especially this year as we move forward and how we're going to handle this in the coming years. So that's just the two things that I wanted to discuss around the items that were presented before the board tonight by the public. I also want to address Mr. Hawkins had come up about Riverside and renaming the field. That request was not brought by me. It was brought by community members to me. And so we are kind of exploring how we're going to do that. But I thank you for bringing that up tonight, Mr. Hawkins, and I look forward to us, Mr. Hawkins, look forward to us resolving that and getting something moving forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Willie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'll start off, Happy Black History Month. I hope folks will take advantage of some of the amazing things happening in our schools and around our community when it comes to the rich culture that African Americans have brought, not only to our schools, but also to this community in our world. Also, just want to give a shout out to the Riverview Neighborhood Association. I had a great conversation with them. They're in that neighborhood right across from Henry F. Kite, which is going to be consolidating into the new Rutledge Pearson. And to be able to talk about not only the history of the school, but also the new beginnings that are going to happen with Rutledge. And I'm encouraging everybody, if you have not driven by there to see that school, the walls are up. As we mentioned before, I took my girls by there, and they were in awe. They were like, this is going to be somebody's school? I was like, yes. So it's just amazing that we've been able to do that, and I'm excited about that. Also, I'm encouraging folks to go to the mid-year meetings that are happening in our schools as well. We talk about academic achievement a lot, and we talk about why are we not focused on it. We're focused on it all the time. So I want to encourage folks to go to our schools. They're having mid-year community stakeholder meetings because that is our central focus, student achievement. And all the other pieces that we talk about in these meetings, they affect student achievement. The student's well-being, the whole child affects how a student shows up to learn every single day. So whenever I sit up here, yes, it may not be directly, but indirectly, how a student feels and sits in that classroom, how can you learn if you are thinking about other things or if things aren't going right at home? We want to be able to have all that information so we can take care of our kids so they can learn as much as possible. And this is a couple of things. We're here in this state with the banning of books and all these pieces, and I commend our staff for working so hard on it, and it's unfortunately we're in this spot, and it's because this is a slippery slope. We talked about this before. You create a law, you create a bill, and all of a sudden you just do a big grab and say everything's got to go. And we have to do better. We have to do better. My child came home. She's in 3rd grade. I was like, what's wrong? She's like, I had a horrible day at school. Why? Like, we got to pack up all our books. So I'm experiencing this just like other parents are. And we, like I mentioned before, thank you to the staff for doing what you had to do. It is under the guise of all the things that are happening in our state right now. And we as a board, we have an obligation to make sure our students are learning everything that they can. And I have a feeling it's going to be detrimental to many of our kids. Where are we pulling books from? Some of our kids do not have access. And now we're expecting them to do great on a test, but they don't have text to read in a classroom. So we have to think about how we're sort of approaching this as we move forward. And the YRBS survey, how are we going to find out what our kids are struggling with if we don't ask the question? And I get it. I get some folks don't want to hear the information. You can opt out. You're going to get notified. You're going to see it. You can opt out. But our kids are struggling. They're going through so much. And how are we supposed to know how to take care of them internally and how to partner with other organizations if we don't have the data? We do it all the time with academics. We try to find out where are your gaps. So we need to do the same thing with the whole kid as well. So it's unfortunate that folks we're in this spot where we want to take everything away, when at the end of the day, we have to have the information to be able to really take care of our kids and our students. And we keep mentioning the middle school piece and other things. Our kids are exposed to way more than they were ever in life. So we have to make sure that we're finding out information to keep them safe and make sure that they can learn as much as possible. So once again, I've been in education for a while, and this is a frustrating time to be in. I know our teachers are dealing with it. I know our staff's dealing with it. And I want to commend them for working within the guise of what we have. But now's the time. We have to raise our voices up because this is a extremely slippery slope we're in right now when it comes to where we are. So once again, happy Black History Month. Take advantage of that and read a book. Everybody.
All right.
Which book?
Any book. Any book. Board Member Hershey, we'll come to you now.
Thank you. I wanted to remind everyone of the school choice deadline is coming up for February 28th. And if you are unable to get into the school, all your schools that you wanted to tour in January, I encourage you to call your respective school of interest directly and set up a time to tour to be sure you get your applications in on time. It was exciting to visit the schools in my district. I didn't make it to all of them, but there was a lot of excitement and a lot of good turnout in January. Again, visiting different schools for the mid-year stakeholder information, and this is a great time to learn more about what's happening at your school, particularly academically. And I encourage you to check with your school and to show up and be present at that SAC meeting. A couple of them have already taken place, but there are several this month that are still on the calendar that you could attend. This Friday, it's going to be a big night for DCPS with Teacher of the Year and Extravaganza. Board Member Joyce and I both have graduates of Douglas Anderson, and I always look forward to attending that event. And then I have a niece at DA, so I'm looking forward to Extravaganza, but we can't be every place at the same time. And I know that the board will divide and conquer and be present to celebrate the Teacher of the Year. So since I am not going to be there, I will congratulate whoever that is in advance. We had to pick. I had to pick one. I couldn't do both. But I did want to follow up on a couple of things. One is I appreciate the words and comments by Board Member Joyce, particularly regarding the survey. And I too did reach out to Dr. Green and just was like, remind me, haven't we done this survey since 2008 or 2012? So this has been something the district has participated in over the years, but we've had conversation this year about not renewing that grant. It is part of the grant, and I appreciate the suggestions and recommendations of Board Member Joyce. And it's my understanding that there's a likelihood that this grant will not be pursued, and that will probably satisfy a lot of people, but we do have to get through this year. And I think Board Member Joyce made some good recommendations. I also did reach out to Dr. Green regarding books. There's a bookstore downtown that has some books in the window that say, these books are banned, and I was trying to figure that out. And Dr. Green not only sent me books that had been banned, but books that are approved. And there are a lot of books that are approved. There are a lot of state books that have already been approved. I know that list changes daily. Maybe other board members would like to see that list. Maybe Dr. Green could forward that Excel spreadsheet to other board members that I got as well, just so you can see that it is happening and it is taking place. But I do think it's important that we take every step that we can to ensure that we are aligning with state standards and state statute to protect our students as well as our teachers and our principals. And so with that, I am done.
Thank you. We'll move on to Board Member Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate people getting involved in public education. It's, as Board Member Willie pointed out, it is a very challenging time for our teachers and certainly for us as board members. Not knowing doesn't solve a problem. And that study, the YRBS study, is essential if we're going to provide the services that many of our students need. We have kids from all types of backgrounds, and we need to make sure that we have the services in place that we can provide to those students so they can overcome those many challenges that they face, whether it's personal. And the survey is anonymous, so it's not, and some things they share in that survey they might want to share with a parent or any caring adult that they may have in their lives. Parents can't opt out. And certainly with the safeguards that we put in place where they will be notified, I think that gives me the assurance that if a parent And I respect those who fear that, or feel very strongly that they should not be asked those questions at a certain age. So, but the ability to opt out gives them an opportunity to opt their child out, and we can still do the survey and get the information we need so that we can meet their needs where we can. Secondly, I just want to acknowledge that Rutledge Pearson and Ajax had their topping out service last month, and Dr. Green and I were there, and the building is ongoing, it's beautiful. It will be beautiful. It's ugly right now, but it will be beautiful once it's finished. And along those same lines, Ajax is having another job fair this Tuesday, February 21st at the Legend Center from 9 to 11. They're looking for employees. So please, if you know someone that's looking for a job, please attend this very important job fair. Also, congratulations to the Principal of the Year and Assistant Principal of the Year. I think it's Ms. Tamara Roper at Stillwell and Vatrina Myers of Ocean Way Middle. It was very emotional to hear them speak. They were very touched, and our Vice Chair gave a very warm and welcoming closing argument, closing prayer, rather. So thank you for that. And also a shout out to Judge Corrigan for moving his courthouse to Riverside High and allowing our students to witness the naturalization ceremony that was held there last month. It was wonderful. That's my first experience. And you could tell those newly crowned citizens were very excited about being Americans now, and I thought that was very timely. I also joined Dr. Green at a couple of GSA meetings, and the students were very nervous at first, but you had one or two that really told it like it was, and hopefully we can begin to support them more and provide the service and just reassure them that we care about them and we're not going to leave them high and dry because we sever a relationship with Jasmine. As Board Member Willie pointed out, stakeholders meetings are going on. I've attended 3 in my district so far. I can't attend them all because I got so many and they compete with each other, but it just shows the concern of the parents and the people who live in that community of what's going on with those students and how we can begin to improve the educational quality of those schools. And finally, because it is Black History Month, I want to recognize Wendell P. Holmes, Jr., who was the first African American to be elected to the Duval County School Board in 1969. He was also the first African American to be elected to any school board in the state of Florida in 1969. He was also the first Black chairperson of this board. Wendell Holmes' wife taught me in 4th grade, a very outstanding leader. For 23 years, he served on this board from 1969 to 1992. He was the first African American to be elected to the school board, as I pointed out, and also the first person to serve as chairperson of 2 historically Black colleges and universities. He served 27 years on the board of Bethune-Cookman College, which is now Bethune-Cookman University, 11 years as the chairperson. He also served 37 years on his alma mater board, Hampton University, and served 9 years as the chairperson. It's wonderful. He was a wonderful man, a great leader, a great American, and I just want to thank him for his service. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I always appreciate that you help us understand our city a little bit better with your history, so thank you. Board Member Carney.
So I would like to speak to the book vetting process tonight. 2 weeks ago, I was caught off guard by getting a phone call from a longtime friend and tenured teacher in tears that she was told verbally that she had to immediately cover her classroom library and take it down. And since then, Dr. Green and I have been having a robust conversation via email about the vetting process, the state statute, and what needs to ensue to make sure that we are following the state law. The last 2 weeks, all I have done as a board member is take calls from our DCPS teachers. I have a great appreciation for our faculty and staff. in this district. So tonight, I would like to read, with their permission, some anonymous quotes that I've been given from our teachers because they are afraid to speak out. And it upsets me that they don't want to come sit here and listen to our school board meetings. We need to be supporting our teachers. We need to be trusting that our teachers can make decisions that are best for our children. And I think that it's our job as a board to make sure that when new state laws are put in place, that they're not politicized. And I believe that's what's happening. I think it's very strange that we decided to do this the week of Literacy Week for our state, and the same week that Governor DeSantis brought forth new legislation against the teachers' unions. It's very strange to me. So I'm going to read just a few excerpts from some teachers because I think they should have a voice. They're the ones that we entrust our children with every day. And with us having a teacher shortage and us focusing on literacy, I think it's really important that we hear what they have to say. Board Member Carney, this year marks 25 years I've taught. I know more than most of the media specialists about books. Teachers' hands are being tied. I've always used my own stuff, bought my own class set of books for students, and now because of a few bad apples, I have to be micromanaged. This is another one. The verbiage that was sent out to parents makes it seem as if our libraries are open. They are not, and that no books have been deemed not approved. That's because they haven't even started the approval process in my school. Here's another one. I just want to say that I have spoken to my friends who teach in South Florida. None of them have had this level of crazy with closing classroom libraries or the book ban drama. In fact, their classrooms are carrying on as normal. My friend, who is an AP teacher, said, some districts are interpreting this law wrong and are creating chaos. I feel like that's Duval County. Why are we doing this mid-year? I think the interpretation from Duval was way over-exaggerated, and the ones who hurt the most are the kids. Board Member Carney, what is going on with the new book policy? It seems to me that our district has taken the new law to the extreme. From what I can tell, other districts are not removing all books from classrooms in children's hands. That being said, Duval County and Manatee County are the only districts that I know of that are removing and covering bookcases. I've spoken to Clay, St. John's, Brevard, Indian River, Orange, and Volusia. And now I'm hearing from this other teacher about other counties in South Florida. I have also spoken to the Department of Education. And they wanted to make clear that teachers cannot be at risk of a felony simply for having unvetted books. That's not true. The only for material meeting the extreme standards that are harmful in the statute. So for instance, my children grew up reading the entire series of Captain Underpants. There is a big difference between Captain Underpants and Genderqueer. If you put those two books side by side in front of a third grader, that third grader is going to be completely offended by Genderqueer. There's nothing wrong with Captain Underpants. That's his uniform. Okay? I think that most of teachers recognize that. We can't be taking Diary of a Wimpy Kid out of our classrooms. It's taking literacy to a level that's going to disengage our children. I have teachers that are finally getting kids to love opening a book instead of looking at this. And they can't now because they're in fear of their jobs and they're afraid to speak out. And this has been a tough couple weeks for me because I've really gotten to know even better a lot of the faculty in my district, and my heart hurts for them, and my heart hurts for our kids. And I think us as a board needs to recognize that we have so much good going on in our schools. When we go get inside of our individual schools, but all people see is what's happening here, and it's got to stop. I am coming to this position from a different lens, and that's of a parent first. And so I have those relationships with teachers probably in a different way than some people that are educators or been in administrative staff. I just feel that we need to trust our faculty. We can't make this such an overreaction that it's stressing them out to the point that they're already feeling stressed out. They already have a lot on their plates. This adds to it, and I understand that we need to follow the law, but I don't believe that the Department of Education is going to arrest a teacher for having Captain Underpants on their shelves. And so I just think that, like what Board Member Joyce said, we need to be having a more robust discussion on a workshop basis about how we're addressing this issue. And thank you to Dr. Green for putting up with me the last 2 weeks via email. I do appreciate it because I have had a lot of questions. But this is something that's really struck a chord with me personally, just because I appreciate those teachers that taught my kids to love reading. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of those teachers and that we're appreciating those teachers and letting them know that they are supported and that we're going to work with them through this process. So that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you. We will move to Vice Chair Pearson.
Awesome. Well, in the vein of celebrating what's going well and what's going on in the district, that's kind of the theme of my remarks, as it usually is. So I want to say thank you. It's already been mentioned, but thank you to City Year and CSX for their day on work day at Andrew Robinson Elementary and for trusting me with a paintbrush. It was awesome, and I texted Board Member Willie and said, whenever you go to this school and see this rocket, please think of me. But they also had murals in the cafeteria, and it was just really wonderful. And so I think I'm going to make this a tradition. This was the first year I'd heard about the day on. And I think I'm going to make this a tradition, and I would love Mr. Mack and anyone else to see this program expanded in schools in District 3. Because I know that the 22 principals in District 3 could come up with a long list of things that people could help them with for 3 hours on a day on. So I'm putting that out there. I want to thank the Rotary Club of Deerwood for their partnership with Wolfson High School Interact students. They hosted, which they do have for the past several years, a speech competition for the students and gave out monetary prizes to the students. They also host an awards banquet for student athletes, seniors, who have a 4.0 or better, and give out award there. They give out another scholarship. So they're just a really great partner for the school, and I want to celebrate that partnership in one of my District 3 schools. Also thanking the Honorable Timothy Corrigan for bringing the naturalization ceremony to DCPS schools. And I want to thank Principal Fagans and the JRTC at Riverside for being such gracious and able hosts. It was one of the things that is fun is that the students each introduce someone who is a candidate or who's going to be naturalized that day. And it's a great opportunity for the students to be involved as well. And I hear that the next school that's going to be hosting is Inglewood High School, which I think will be a pretty, given the composition of Inglewood High School and the number of languages spoken there, and I think that could be a very cool ceremony there. I want to say congratulations to Beauclair Elementary, not only for the 2 staff people who are celebrated tonight, but for the successful literacy event that they had 2 Saturdays ago. It was packed, and they almost ran out of parking and almost had to close the gates. But they had, in that, wrapped up is a thank you to the JRTC at Paxson High School, because they came and volunteered and have offered to help more efficiently park people next year. So they're already talking about what they're going to do next year. I want to congratulate Pine Forest School of the Arts for their Illuminations event that happened this past Saturday. Again, it was a little chilly, but people were, again, a parking issue because people were flooding in, and it was a great event. And also River City Science Academy's STEM and Health Expo. Now there was a parking issue at that one, and they did a great job working with the businesses around them, but I meant to track it. I bet I walked a mile and a half, or a mile probably there and back getting to. And then I want to plug Board Member Harold, I almost called you by your maiden name. Hershey mentioned the Douglas Anderson School of the Arts Extravaganza this Friday at 10 o'clock at the Times Union Performing Arts Center. Tickets are available on Ticketmaster. So they are not available on Ticketmaster? The time is at 7 o'clock?
He said 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is February the 10th at 7 o'clock. Tickets are available on Ticketmaster. Probably, I'm going to go on a limb and say these tickets on Ticketmaster will be easier to access than the Taylor Swift tickets were. So, go to Ticketmaster. You should have a good experience there. The last thing I want, more of a public service announcement, is to remind everyone that city elections will be taking place on March 21st. Back up a little bit for early voting, back up a little bit before that for mail-in ballots. So pretty soon, groups of people will start casting ballots for mayor and city council. In my district, so in case you don't know, each school board member has 2 city council districts that we correspond with. And one of my city council members is unopposed, and so he's done. And my other city council member is actually running for another office, and so that's an open seat. And that's District 5. There is a candidate forum on Thursday, February 9th at 6:30, hosted at the San Marco Community Center. So if you're interested in hearing, and I would say if you're not in District 5, Google it and see if there is one being hosted as well. But something that as I talk to community members a lot, especially as I've been meeting with folks in the capacity of the legislative agenda that we have, is that, I say it over and over again, and so I'll end with this, is that our schools are a reflection of the communities that they're in. And it seems at times that people want to put all the responsibility on the schools for a lot of things that schools, and we have people who make public comment who acknowledge this, put responsibility on our schools for things that really aren't things that the schools have traditionally been responsible for. And so we really need, as we go into city elections, one of the things that I'm going to be looking at is which candidates are focusing on funding for parks and recreation, which folks are talking about more funding for Kids Hope Alliance and some of the organizations that help us after school, which candidates are talking about community safety, which candidates are talking about economic development in our neighborhoods and in our communities, because all of those things, which candidates are talking about public housing and being an advocate for keeping people honest about providing good, safe, clean public housing, because all of those things affect the students and the families who walk through our doors, and they affect how teachers are able to do their jobs, and they, as Board Member Willie said, affect student outcomes. And so I would just encourage you, as you're looking at candidates for mayor, candidates for city council, and if you have an opportunity to ask questions, you may want to ask some of those things, because what happens in our communities affects what happens in our schools.
Thank you. I will finish with just a few items as well. I want to make sure, several people have mentioned it, and I mentioned it in my report, but the Health and STEM Expo that was done at River City. Again, I want to give shout outs to Dr. T for hosting it over there. And I think he was called Mr. Cell. I don't know when Cell became like a one-name item, kind of like Bono or something. Anyway, I do want to thank Cell. He's a friend of mine. And make sure, he was very clear when I talked to him, you need to make sure you thank the people who planned it. There are a lot of people behind the scenes that made that event happen. I've never seen anything like it. It's my second year attending. And it truly was a great event. The fact that I got to take a picture with Darth Vader and board member Hershey at the same time was a bonus. But anyway, we had a really good time. I want to thank GRASP for being here tonight. It is a hidden gem. I know I already said that, and our principal there is just such an incredible talent. And I'm just grateful to serve them in District 1. I want to thank Dr. Green and leadership team. I have attended the GSA meetings that I was assigned to as well. As we severed our ties with Jasmine, I want to thank you all for making sure that we listen to student voice and we make sure that we provide appropriate support to all children in our district. I found the conversation just really beneficial, and I also want to thank those of our teaching staff that are involved with those clubs as well, for being there, for helping to facilitate the conversation, and just for your day-to-day, being there for our children. I'm grateful. Mid-year stakeholders reports, like many of you, I've attended a fair number of them. I'm always so excited when I leave them because our principals, our teachers are so talented and they're just doing great work, and it makes me smile. And so thank you to those schools who I've been with. Those I've missed, I apologize, but I'm excited about the work that they're doing. Coretta Hill, Vice President at Jacksonville Public Education Fund. I want to do a special shout out to her. She is someone who has just been an incredible supporter of public education, of Duval County Public Schools. She has been there for us. She, at this point, is in her last week with Jacksonville Public Education Fund. And I'm so sorry to see her go because she has just become a trusted resource for us. But I am thrilled that she is moving over to United Way, so she's not going far away from us. But I hope that those that know her will celebrate her this week as she transitions to her new role at United Way. And Coretta, you're not going to be far from us. We know where to reach you. Eddie Awards. As we go into the Eddie Awards, I know I've heard a lot of celebration about DA. I want to congratulate every single teacher of the year. All the semifinalists, all the finalists. This is a moment where we just, we have wonderful teachers in all of our classrooms, but to celebrate these individuals is such a great moment. I wish all of them luck, particularly our finalists. I know they're a little nervous right now, so I just want to wish them all luck. And I want to make sure we thank, again, Jacksonville Public Education Fund, who makes this event happen. We don't have the resources, we don't have the manpower, and they make it happen, so thank you. And then finally, I want to make sure, this past weekend was the Donna. I want to congratulate all of our Marathon High students who finished the Donna. I want to make sure I thank all of the coaches who coached all of these children to finish Marathon High, to finish the Donna as well. That training program goes on over a course of a number of months in multiple high schools across our district. And we have dedicated coaches who've been doing it for years. I want to say thank you to them. I want to recognize Assistant Superintendent Schultz, who ran it faster than I ever have or ever will. One day she's going to run it backwards. I'm going to run it forwards, and she's still going to beat me. But I say that, and I don't talk to it very often. I say thank you to all of you as a breast cancer survivor for doing the good work. I know that every one of us has been hit by that. There's not a family out there that hasn't. And this one's near and dear to me, so thank you to everyone in our district who was involved with that race. With that, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Pearson and a second by Board Member Carney. All those in favor, signal by saying yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? I don't think so. Okay, that meeting is adjourned.